I'm going to tell you about 5 fall garden mistakes you do not want to make, because if you do, you'll be dealing with some big headaches. You'll be pulling weeds by the thousands next spring, with pests that come back stronger than ever, and staring at bare garden beds when you could be harvesting veggies. The good news is all of these mistakes have simple fixes, and I'm going to show you how. And I'm also going to tell you about a new garden tool that I recently started using that's a game changer. I believe it's one of the best tools of its kind I've ever used, and it's actually turned one of my least favorite garden tasks into something I actually enjoy. Mistake number 1, letting your weeds go wild in the fall and not pulling them out before wintertime. Do you think all your weeds die off in the wintertime? Well, they don't. What's going to happen if I leave this big weedy patch go is that some of these weeds are going to bloom and spread seeds all over the garden bed, which means I'm behind in the spring before I even plant a single vegetable, because those seeds will take root in the soil and rob the soil of nutrients I need for my vegetables, and I'll be behind before I even plant my garden. And I've seen your comments. I know many of you have said how much you absolutely hate weeding and what a headache it is when they spread all over your garden. And I gotcha, I feel exactly the same way. But the fix is pull your weeds out now in the fall, save yourself time in the spring, and then don't leave your soil bare. Cover it with compost or even plant cover crops so your soil doesn't erode away in the wintertime. And believe me, you're gonna be thanking yourself that you did this now in the fall instead of waiting until spring. Now, if you have a patch that's super weedy, what you can do is just cover it with a piece of cardboard. Let the cardboard smother the weeds, pull your cardboard up, and then the weeds will be a whole lot easier to pull out. Then you can plant some cover crops over your soil so your soil is not bare in the winter and you prevent erosion through the winter rains and snow. The benefits of doing this now in the fall is that you have nice clean garden beds all ready to plant in the spring. Your soil stays protected and nutrient rich, and you save yourself that terrible headache of pulling all those weeds in the spring. The next mistake is doing nothing about pests in the fall. Ignore pests now, and you're basically just giving them a free hotel for winter. A lot of pests don't die in the winter. The cold weather just forces them into hiding, i.e. into your garden soil over the winter time. Now, this garden bed here is looking pretty beat up by the heat we've been having, and I've got a ton of pests. I've got some leaf miners here on my cucumber leaves. I have aphids and ants. There are just pests on almost every single leaf that I've got in here, even the ones that look fairly healthy. And if I did nothing, the adults might die off with the cold weather, but the eggs and larvae could go into hiding in the soil, in any plant debris I leave here in the garden bed, and even into bark and mulch that I spread along my fence. And this will cause a big headache in the spring because the eggs will hatch and come back stronger than ever and be ready to eat your small little seedlings as soon as you plant them. And it's such a huge headache because the pests can also carry pathogens, which can transfer diseases to your newly planted spring seedlings, and you can spend much of your spring fighting the pests instead of harvesting. Now, the fix for this pest problem is actually very simple. You have to spray with an insecticide that kills not only the adults, but the eggs and larvae in the soil that overwinter. So come on over to the garden nook here, and I'm going to show you what I use. It works really well. The Monterey Takedown Garden Spray. It kills all of these on contact. So I spray the leaves and I also spray the soil. But here's the kicker. Remember I told you about a new garden tool I'm using now that I absolutely love? It's the sprayer. Now, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I've used so many sprayers over the years. They either leak, you have to pump them up and the pump doesn't work, they break. I spend more time trying to fix the sprayer than I do actually spraying. But this one is completely different. It's a self-pressurizing sprayer. And let me show you how I fill it up. First, I'm gonna add my Monterey Takedown by removing the plunger here on the top. Put my takedown right in here. And this is a concentrate, so what it'll do is mix with the water in the sprayer once I fill the sprayer up. Replace the plunger, twist the cap on. It's nice and tight, which I absolutely love. No more leaking out of this top. It comes with this quick connector, and I'm gonna connect this here by pulling back on the yellow knob, pushing it on. And I'm doing this while the hose is off. Then I'm going to go turn on the hose, and what I want you to watch for, I absolutely love this visual here, is this is what's going to show me how much water pressure is going into the tank. So it's pretty cool. You actually get to see that little dial move. Hose is going on. will show me when the tank is full. When it gets to the green line, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. So this little indicator tells me that the tank is full. So there's no more overfilling of your sprayer, no more leaking, there's no more pumping. It's all self-pressurized within the tank. I'm gonna disconnect the quick connector here. I love how quick it is, and snap, I am ready to spray. Now I always spray in the evening because that's when pollinator activity is lower, and it also helps my plant avoid the UV damage. And this sprayer actually is something I look forward to using now. It's so much fun. So I always spray the tops of the leaves and the bottoms of the leaves, and I love this swivel head. It makes it so easy to get the back of the leaves here. I love these adjustable spray patterns. It's so much fun to spray the leaves and the bark around the raised bed so I can get all the pests that might be hiding in there. And it even has a jet spray that shoots 16 feet into the air, which helps me to spray any pests or aphids or ants that might be in the tree. So this is really a lot of fun. I'm also going to spray the soil here so I can get any of the eggs or larvae that might be hiding in the soil. And the nice thing is I am not pumping at all. There's also this little gauge here that tells me when the sprayer is empty. So it looks like it's time to refill. You can grab this amazing sprayer over at gardenyourway.com, and they're offering our viewers a 10% discount with the code CallieKim. However, Garden Your Way and I were talking, and we think it'd be fun to give one away. So you can enter to win one at our live stream on Monday, September 22nd at noon Pacific time. I'll put the link in the video description, so check out the link, set yourself a reminder, and we'll see you on the live stream. And good luck, I hope you win. Mistake number 3 is not saving seeds now in the fall. When you don't save your summer vegetables, like these beans here that have dried on the vine, you're missing out on seeds that could be next year's harvest. So let me just open these up here and show you these gorgeous scarlet runner beans that are completely dried on the pod. I didn't have to do anything but just let them hang on the pod and let them dry. So easy to save these seeds for next year. Or what I like to do too is pop them in a jar. And then when I have enough, I rehydrate them like refried beans. And here I am growing my own delicious protein. So bean seeds are super easy to save just by letting the pods dry on the vine. And when you save your own seeds, those seeds that you can then replant are also well adapted to your growing conditions. So if you don't save them, you're spending more money on seeds in the spring and missing out on plant genetics that can grow really well in your garden. Now, some other seeds that are very easy to save are zinnias, and I love saving zinnia seeds just from the dried up zinnia flowers. And what I like to do is just trim off or deadhead my spent flower. And because we still do have a few months of warm weather left, I'm just gonna rub the dead flower head here to release all the seeds into my hand. Then what I like to do is just sprinkle the seeds in my garden bed here. And a lot of times they will overwinter or even pop up and grow again, brand new zinnias, since we still do have a few months of warm weather left. Now, if you're coming into the cold season, what you want to do is find a spent flower, this black-eyed Susan here, trim off the head, and just by rubbing in between your thumb and forefinger, you can release the seeds onto the paper plate. Which, since these are black-eyed Susans, it's these teeny tiny little seeds right here. And then put them in a paper bag to absorb all the moisture, and you can store them until next spring and have free plants for your garden. Mistake number 4 that you do not want to do in the fall is shut down your entire garden for the winter. A lot of gardeners do this. Now, the headache that you're going to experience if you completely shut down your garden beds for the winter is that you're going to miss out on months of fresh food, and then you're going to have to spend extra money at the grocery store buying fresh greens and herbs. So what you can do instead is plant yourself a container garden of cool weather veggies like I have here. Now, I've actually still have some warm weather veggies growing that will tide me over once the weather gets cool. I can actually then bring these containers inside and grow them in grow lights in my house. So here I have a dwarf tomato plant, some basil, which will provide me with some delicious veggies over the winter time. These are some cool weather greens. I even have a pepper over here, and then a tomato that is very cold hardy that will survive the cold here in Southern California. And then over here, I actually have a little fall salad station with some mustard greens. I've got some cilantro that is just popping up. And I've got my fall garden transplants all ready to go out in the garden as soon as the weather cools down. And what I like to do, because we do get a lot of hot days here in the wintertime in Southern California, is just clip shade cloth to my containers. And on those hot days when it gets over 80 degrees, because all these vegetables do best under 80 degrees, just cover it with this to protect it from the heat. And if you live in a northern climate where you get hard freezes and frosts, instead of shade cloth, you're going to use a heavy blanket just to drape over your containers to help protect it from the cold. Now, the last mistake is one of the biggest ways that gardeners sabotage their harvest next spring without even realizing it. And that is leaving diseased plants in their garden beds over winter. Now this chard is covered in powdery mildew. And if I was just to leave this over the winter time without removing it, all the powdery mildew spores could drop in the soil here and will harbor pathogens over the winter time that will just explode when you put your transplants in your garden beds in the winter time. And then your seedlings are wiped out before they even get started. So what I always do is remove any diseased plants at the end of the season so that your soil is not harboring all those harmful pathogens over the winter time. And here in Southern California, chard will actually overwinter. So by snipping off all the diseased leaves, I can send the plant's energy into producing brand new leaves that don't have powdery mildew. You can see my tomatoes here have blight, so we'll be removing those plants as well. You can see this cucumber plant is definitely not looking good either and is at the end of its life. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this plant as well, so no disease or pest can harbor in the plant debris over the winter time. And these are going to go in the trash bin, not the compost pile. So it will save me the headache of having my seedlings attacked by diseases in the spring. Let me know if you've ever made any of these mistakes and if anything's going to change for you this fall by watching this video. And don't forget, join our live stream on Monday, September 22nd at noon Pacific time. The link is in the video description. Set yourself a reminder and then you can enter on the live stream to win that sprayer. I'll be reading the comments. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.